Hello, everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneur the Pod. Today, we're back with Michelle Petties, the food story coach. And I'm going to ask her exactly what that means, the food story coach. So, here we are again at Afterthought. And this is where we come back and ask a previous guest some questions that I missed, something I probably should have asked in the moment. And after having a time to review it and go over it, I like to always point out the lessons that I personally learned and hope that other people can learn from it. And then I like to ask the guests a few questions that I should have asked in a moment. So, are you ready, Michelle? First question. First question. What is a food story, coach?
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's break that phrase down. Food
Okay.
story, food story, and coach. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with food story. That phrase, and the food story is whatever we think about food that causes us to food in a certain way. Whatever our beliefs are around a certain food, the memories, the events, the experiences that inform how we manage a certain food. I'll give you an example. If you don't eat peanuts, if you don't eat crabs, if you don't eat seafood, if you don't eat tomatoes, if you don't eat something because you're allergic to it, that is a food story. That is a conscious food story. I don't eat this because I'm allergic to it, right? All right. One time I had some I this was like years ago. I had some fried chicken somewhere. I was sick as a dog. I was sick as a dog. And for 2 years I didn't eat fried chicken. I don't know if it's the fried chicken that caused it or something else, but the fried chicken got the credit. And so and
Right.
so and so my story was that I don't eat fried chicken because of the experience and the memory that I associated with it. That's our food story. In my book, Leaving Larger Stories of a Food Addict, when I talk about the pivotal moment that changed my awareness and my consciousness about food, I tell the story about my uncle that was beaten severely
Mhm.
because he stole a watermelon, right? And he never ate watermelon after that because the event and the experience that he associated with watermelon was so traumatic. That was his food story around watermelon. So everything that we eat, we have a memory or an experience and an event that we tie to it. That memory may be one that is conscious, it may be subconscious, it may be unconscious. But
Mm.
those thoughts around the food, those beliefs around the food, are what drive how we consume it. And if we have beliefs around certain foods that drive how we consume it that lead to our ill health, then what we need is a food story coach to help us under first of all discover and uncover those beliefs, those stories, and to rewrite them and create new beliefs around the food so that we can manage food in a healthy way.
I received that. In in telling that story, isn't it really everything we do is about what we believe?
Absolutely. That that Tanya, that is dead on. Everything that we do is about our belief system. And that's why it's so important to to get the steps around this food story discovery, because once you get the steps around that, you can apply it to every other area of your life, because we all have so many habits that are tied to stories that are disempowering that we don't even know that they're going on. But once we get this process down, and when I'm talking about food, I teach people how to find their story, face their story, rewrite the story, and replace it. Those four steps. We got to find it. We got to know what's going on. Why do I do this? Why do I think this? Why do I feel this? And be able to face it, because so many times we're trapped by beliefs, or beliefs hold us captive because because they were passed on to us by people that we love, by people
Mm.
that care for us. And those people share information with us through the lens of their own experience. And the lens and that lens isn't necessarily the lens that we're living in today. And so if we don't know how to adjust that and say, they were telling us this, they were sharing this based on their experience 40 years ago. This is a different world. I'm in a different environment. I need to make some shifts, right? And not just hold on to that. We have to edit it. We have to always be questioning. We have to always be looking at that. So that's finding your story and then facing it. All right, believing this has gotten me here, right? Believing this has gotten me here. I don't want to be here. I want to be someplace else, right? And then rewriting it, right? So you rewrite it to determine where is it that you want to go? What is it that you really want to do? How do you really want to show up in this world? Not even necessarily physically, even though with food we're talking about that, but how do you want to show up in this world in terms of your purpose instead of pursuing your dreams, your passions, all of that, your vocation, your avocation, all of that? Who am I? Right? So then we look at that. That is rewriting the story. And then the replacing it is, how do we do it? Now I figured out what I want. I have figured out what I want. How do we actually implement that? What are the steps to that? What are the tactics? What are the strategies? What are the secrets? How do I get that reinforced? How do I do that every day? What do I physically need to do to move from where I am to someplace else? And that is all process, that is all journey, that is all lifelong.
Let me ask you, in your step by step, because so much of what we do is unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you get a person, snap them out of that unconscious thing? Because I personally can say that I find myself just snacking, just
Mm-hmm.
snacking,
Mm-hmm.
not because I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about what you said, why am I snacking? And I think it helps bring my stress down,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the body don't need all that.
No, no, nope.
So how do you break that unconscious pattern?
Okay. So there are a couple of ways to break that unconscious pattern. And I'm glad you talked about I think it brings my you said I think it brings my stress down. So first of all, we have to be aware of what we are feeling. And we have to be aware that what we're feeling is not hunger. So when I am coaching people, when I am, working with people in my 52-week to transformation group, every week we unpack, if you will, or we face, or we find a different emotion. It's a different emotion every week. It may be hunger, it may be stress, it may be fear, it may be shame, it may be frustration, it may be pride, it may be disappointment. All of them, they all get their own week. And every day we take that word and we look at it, and we ask questions about that word. When do I feel that way? Who makes me feel that way? How does this show up in my life? Right? How do I respond to it? How does it show up in my body? Where do I feel it? So every day is a question for us to acknowledge that this emotion exists. Because in this culture that we live in, we have a culture that wants to keep us separated from our emotions, that tells us that emotion is a bad thing, right? Well, emotion, we need every single emotion, every emotion that we feel, even though it might have been categorized as good or bad, is a good thing. Because life, that's what life is. It is flowing through one emotion through another. We are emotional beings. We are spirit beings. And emotions are just data. Emotions are information that help us navigate the world. So we need to learn how to honor them and recognize them, and not try to separate ourselves from them, or to use food or anything else to separate ourselves from them. So first of all, the question becomes, how am I feeling? What is this emotion? What does that feel like? When does it show up? What time of the day? What time of the week? Maybe some emotions show up on the weekend when you're with your friends, right? Right?
Mhm.
Maybe certain situations create certain emotions, but we have to be able to identify them. And if we are wrapped in this language around emotional eating, oh, I'm an emotional eater, right? People say that all the time. Well, no one says that like that's what they want to be, right? Nobody says that from a place of empowerment. So if that is your issue, then first of all, let's identify the emotion. Let's deal with the emotion. First, we have to recognize what it is. Once we recognize what it is, then we can deal with it in the proper manner. And if we deal with it in the proper manner, then we won't need to eat because we have dealt with the emotion.
Mm.
So if you eat because you're afraid, if you eat because you're angry, if you eat because you're frustrated, okay, let's get some techniques to identify frustration. Let's deal with frustration and put that in its proper place. Let's acknowledge that, and then the urge to eat to assuage it, right? To get some distance from it, we won't even need that. So that's the first thing. The second thing on a more practical level, right, is to create some space between the desire to eat and actually eating. I want to say that create some space between the desire to eat and actually eating, because the truth is every desire to eat is not hunger. Every time we feel something in our stomach, it is not hunger. And the way to really just kind of zero in on that, and I'm telling you techniques that I use every single day before I put anything into my mouth. There may be times when I eat when I'm not hungry, but I am never aware. I'm never unaware that that's what I'm doing. I always understand exactly why I'm eating something. And when you have understanding, then you can make decisions from a position of power. First thing, before you put anything in your mouth ever, anytime, the question is, am I hungry or am I something else? Every every morsel, every anything. Am I hungry or am I something else? The second question, why this food now? Why this particular food now? I had a conversation not too long ago with one of my clients, and she said this. Um, my husband and I were having a beef. We were beefing. We'd been beefing all week, and I was out and I was working, and I went to a Mexican restaurant. Now, I don't normally go to a Mexican restaurant, but Mexican food is my husband's favorite food.
Mm. Mm.
Right?
Right.
That why why this food now? Why this food now? It shows up in ways that we don't always think about. And that would be an unconscious food story right there. That would be an unconscious move. Unless you have the question. Unless you have the question that takes you to why this food now? For you to really understand, this beef that's going on with me and my husband, it is really bothering me. I need to resolve this. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to do it, but because you recognize and understand, it brings it into your consciousness that there's some connection in my personal life that I need to fix. I can sit here and I can eat these tacos, right? Or I can call my husband and try to work this stuff out, right? Because just me and the tacos ain't is not gonna get it. So why this particular food now? Am I hungry or am I something else? Right? Because that feeling, am I hungry or something else? Maybe she may have very well been hungry because it was lunchtime. That's where she went for lunch. But she was also feeling something else, some frustration around this unresolved stuff that was going on in her relationship. All of this was all wrapped up in that meal.
Mm.
And until we unpack the stuff that's wrapped up in our bodies around the extra weight that we're carrying, it's going to stay wrapped up and we're always going to have a struggle. That's why sometimes I don't have any sort of proof, any sort of anything to prove this, but this is one reason why I think it is so hard to lose those last 10 or 15 pounds, because those last 10 or 15 pounds have been with you the longest. And those
Mm.
last 10 or 15 pounds they have wrapped in them some emotional stuff
Mm.
that happened so long ago that you don't even remember. And so we have to remember it. We have to sit and let the memories bubble up so that we can deal with them, so that we can release it. Because before we ever gain a single pound on our bodies, we gain it in our minds first. I want to repeat that because I want
Yes,
people
I was
to
going to
understand that.
say.
Before we gain a single pound, a single extra anything on our bodies, we gain it in our mind first. And we have to lose it the same way we gained it. We have to release it in our minds before it is released in our bodies. So that's why all the working out, all the counting calories, that's why all that stuff is so hard if you have not released it in your mind. You've got to go to the head first, because the head drives in everything. The head drives everything. That's where the work is. When you do the brain work, the body has to follow. It can't help but follow. So that's where you release it. Release it in your mind, and then it becomes easier to do all the other work. So why this food now? Right? Why this why this food now? Am I hungry or am I something else? And then the third question is, if this food will not give me the body I say I want, or the life I say I want, or the health I say I want, why am I eating it? Why am I eating it? So this allows us to get very, very clear and get very intentional about the real purpose of food. The real purpose of food is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. The world, this culture, the food pushers, the food manufacturers, the fast food manufacturers, the snack food manufacturers, the junk food manufacturers will tell you otherwise. But I am here to tell you the truth. I don't care what you grew up believing. I don't care what you believe today. The only purpose of food is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. It is fuel. And if you are eating for any reason other than that, then you are eating outside of reasons that will honor your body.
Mm.
And when you dishonor your body over time, you are dishonoring yourself. You are showing up inauthentically, and it will not serve you in the long run. It will not. So those three questions, and over time, what will happen is you're able to ask those questions really quickly. You're able to
Mhm.
do an assessment really quickly. It's not anything that's laborious. And sometimes it doesn't take all three questions, it just takes one. And what those questions do, you asked me earlier, what those questions do is that they create a space. They create a space, and they create some time between the desire to eat and the actual eating itself. And they give you a chance to evaluate. It gives you a chance to always be conscious, to always be conscious. So you're not making any sort of move in this state of mindlessness or oblivion. So when you get conscious, you can be aware, you can pivot, you can make some choices that are rooted in nutrition and not in addiction. That's what you can do. That you can take those questions. And if you never call me, if you never read my book, if you never read my TED talk, if I never coach you, if you never do anything else, you can take those three questions. If you apply them to every single thing you eat every day, you can change your life. You can change your life.
Well, my life has changed already. I love it. No, I receive it. And I was thinking about the story you just told about the woman and she being frustrated with her husband and going back and forth. And then subconsciously, she goes to a place where he likes to eat all the time.
Hmm.
And, you know, I'm sure after she ate, she still felt the same way.
Yes.
So it's like you must address what it really is.
You must address what it really is. Because here's the thing, the only, and you've heard me say this before, I'm sure we said it in my first
Yes.
conversation, the only problem that food solves is hunger.
Hmm.
That's the only problem it solves. Its only purpose is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. And we get trapped in this addictive cycle trying to make food do that which it cannot do. And so, if we're using food because we're bored, because we're hungry, because we're sad, because we're frustrated, because we're angry, because we're embarrassed, because we're ashamed, because we're anything other than hungry, those needs go unmet because the food cannot solve them. And the bigger issue is this, is that those needs go unmet over time. And the more they go unmet over time, the more pain and discomfort they cause. And the more separation they cause, and the more disconnection they cause. And if we're in this habit of going to food, we keep going to food trying to make food fix it. That's where the addiction sets in, along with the chemicals and just the formulation of the product, just the habit of trying to make food fix it. And we keep piling it on. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So we keep eating, we keep eating, we keep eating, trying to get food to cover up this pain that keeps piling up because we're not doing the thing that we need to do to address the boredom, to address the loneliness, to address the frustration, to address the shame, to address the embarrassment, to address all of those other emotions that live and fester and grow and stay inside of us because food will never fix any of it.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Let me ask another question. In our last conversation, we talked about the biggest reason you wrote this book was it was very healing for you.
Mm-hmm,
And your workshop is about healing through you do healing through writing.
mm-hmm.
Tell me the benefits of, at least give me three benefits of how you're healed through doing your writing.
Whew. All right, so I am so glad you asked this question. All right, because I had a writing workshop today,
Oh, okay.
and I had a writing workshop today. I generally do the writing workshop two Saturdays a month, from 11 to 12:30, Eastern Standard Time. It's Write Your Way to Your Right Way. And I come together with the group, and we start off with meditation, because meditation and breathing helps open up your mind. It helps you get you centered and get focused. And then after we finish up with the meditation, I give the group a couple of writing prompts. And today, the writing prompts were around the notion that, as anybody that's struggling with this food addiction, obesity, weight loss, they have two people. They are two people that are sitting on their shoulders, right? The healthy person that they want to be, and the unhealthy person that has driven them for so long. And in every situation, in every conversation, in everything, they take those two people into the conversation. They're always in your head, going back and forth. And so the prompt today was, what what is your healthy you saying? What is your thin you saying about your daily activities? What is thin you and healthy you? What does she do every day? What is her life like? That let's hear that. Let's write about that. And I had a person say, it is hard for me to imagine this because I have never been thin. But as I think about this, what I what I want to do, and I'm paraphrasing, but it just struck me. She said, what I want to do is I want to wear clothes. It resonated with me about clothes. She said, I want to wear something that has buttons and zippers. Everything I have ever worn has elastic in it. I want to wear something that has buttons and zippers. She said, I have helped people, I have coached people, I have mentored people to graduate from college, to graduate from high school, but I can't go to their graduations and see them graduate because I am too embarrassed. I am too embarrassed about how I look to go see them get their diplomas. I want to do that. I want to be in the audience, but I can't. I have never been able to do that because of how I feel, because of how I look, because of my mobility issues, because of all of that. I want that. I can't go to family reunions. I want to go to family reunions, but I can't. I can't because I'm embarrassed and I am ashamed. I want to live a different kind of life. That's what she wrote about. That's what she claimed in the group. And so when when you are in this space, when you come to this group, the this writing group helps you get connected to yourself, helps you get connected to what you really want. Because ultimately, when this woman pulls up what she really wants is to be able to show up for herself. She doesn't want coconut cake. She don't want pineapple cake. She don't want any of that. So to be able to, because when we write it, Tonya, when we write it, we make it real. That's why the writing is so important. Until we put it on paper, right? Until the pen is in our hand and our arm and our pen is moving across the paper, and what that energy that is moving from the pen to the paper toward the arm to our brain, where everything happens. That's where the change happens. That's where the transformation happens. It is not. I am not saying that we don't have to look at what we eat, what we move, what we drink, how we see. All those things are important. But we have to change our belief system. And the way that we change our belief system is by unlearning the stuff that has kept us trapped and learning new stuff that will free us. And we do that when we write. We do that when we put it on paper. We do that when we make it real. We do that when we can visualize it. We do that when we can see it, when we can say the words. That's when we do it. That's when it happens. Because the words, hearing them, creating the energy, creating the vibration, that is the power. Putting it out there, putting yourself out there, claiming it, affirming it, creating energy around it and bringing it into your life. That's how the writing works. That's why you write. That's why you talk. That's why you do it in group. Because when you do it, when you say it in a group, then the group is able to echo it. The group is able to create some energy for you, to sometimes create some energy you can't create for yourself. Addiction will tell us, oh, I can do this by myself. I want to do this by myself. I should be able to do this by myself. I'm embarrassed that I can't do this by myself. I'm ashamed that I can't do this by myself. I'm weak because I can't do this by myself. That is the addiction talking, and addiction is a liar. Addiction will keep you stuck. Addiction will keep you trapped. Addiction will keep you in misery and pain that you will not feel like you can crawl your way out of. Addiction will keep you in darkness. But when you start to write, in the company of other people that are on the same journey, that will affirm you, they can say, sis, I've been there. Sis, it is powerful, right? There's joy on the other side. You can do it. I see you doing it. I'm doing it with you. You can only get that in group. You can only get that when you write.
I guess that's why the Lord says, write it down and make it plain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Write the vision and make it plain.
Mhm. I receive it 100%. Tell me a little bit more. I didn't really get into your workshop. Tell me, like, if someone wanted to, you just told me it was 52 weeks. So you invest a lot of time in helping people become the best version of themselves.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's, and what you're doing really is not about food, it's about being the best version of themselves,
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
So tell me a little about a bit about your workshop,
Hmm.
and if I came to your workshop, how would you serve me in terms of making me be better about my
Yeah.
food and eating, etc.?
Okay. All right. So my goal, Tonya, is to meet people where they are. And I do a couple of different things. I offer a free emotional overeating Zoom call every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we unpack something around emotional overeating. And you can come to that group. You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be on camera. If you want to be on camera, you can be on camera. If you want to talk about your challenges and your victories that week, you can. If you're in a place where you just need to hear what everybody else is saying and have people pour into you, you can. It is a safe, no judgment free zone, judgment free zone. Just come to the group, and come. And I say, come when you don't feel like coming, because when you don't feel like coming is when you need to come the most. It is a supportive group of people that are all moving in the same direction. So if you want to share, you can share. If you want to be on camera, you can be on camera. You don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be share. We're gonna wrap our arms around you no matter how you come. I do that every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Got it.
I also have a 52-week training, right? A 52-week coaching program. And it is 52 weeks on purpose. It is 52 weeks by design. And I will say this, it is not for the faint of heart. I only want to work with people who are serious and who are ready to change, transform their lives completely. So we meet every Monday night in a group call. But in addition to that, every Monday night, you meet every day with a partner. Every day is accountability and alignment. And every day you go through a writing prompt that I give you. And I don't tell you that you have to write for a certain amount of time. I don't tell you that you have to meet at a certain time. But I do say you need to connect with your partner and you all need to talk every day about a writing prompt that I give you every day around the emotion of that week. So every week you and a partner all week long talk about this particular emotion. So it may be fear, it may be shame, it may be anger, all of that. What makes you angry? Who makes you angry? When are you angry? How do you handle it? How does it show up? Does it do, all of what does it feel like in your body? what what can you do other than eat when you feel angry, right? All of those things. So you discuss that with your partner. That's your alignment and accountability partner. Every day you talk with your partner and you write about that every day. You and your partner decide. You decide whether you're going to talk in the morning. You decide whether you're going to talk in the evening. You decide if you're going to talk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes. You decide all of that. I'm not involved in that, right? But the commitment is that you do that work of looking at that every day and unpacking that every day and evaluating that every day and addressing that issue every day.
Let me ask you a quick question
Go
about
ahead.
that.
Go
So
ahead.
how do you know if the students are actually doing the work during the week? Is there
Because
any kind of,
because we come back and we have a group call on Monday. We on Monday we discuss the work. We discuss what you learned, what you and your partner uncovered the week before, right? And so this is different from everybody. This is different for everybody. Is that if you here's how I know that people are doing the work, or here's one safeguard, because you pay for it. You're paying for this up front. You're paying for this upfront. And by the time you get to this point, because we're having these conversations every day, and I send out day In addition to that, I send out daily texts and prompts. There are daily conversations that happen in the group call around this. This is about creating connection because this food situation has disconnected us. Right.
Mm.
So all this conversation, all of this is about intentional connection to create relationships, to create some authenticity that food has separated us from. So we do that every week for those people that do this 50 for do to do this 52-week program. They also have a chance to come to the week. They also just get grandfathered into the weekend writing courses. Now you can buy the weekend writing courses separately, but if you do the
Mhm.
52 weeks of transformation, I just include the weekend writing courses. So you do that every day. Um, you do that every day, you and a partner. And then on Mondays we meet with a group call where we unpack all of that. But here's the long view, Tonya, is that everybody that goes through this program gets to write their story, gets to rewrite their story, and their story is going to be included in a book, in an anthology. Like my book is Leaving Large: The Stories of a Food Addict. Well, women and or men that are on this journey from the this is documentation. So one reason that you're writing is because the person that you are at the beginning of the 52 weeks is not the person that you are at the end of the 52 weeks. And you
Absolutely.
change a week at a time, you change a word at a time, you change an experience at a time. And so at the end of the 52 weeks, or it may take longer, but at the end, right, you get to write your story, and your story is included in a book which I will publish, and it'll be Leaving Large: The Stories of whatever this group is. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is everybody that's in this program, that comes through this program, gets included in what I call the best day ever photo shoot. And I do this best day ever photo shoot because this group, the work that I'm doing, Tonya, is for the person I used to be.
I
And the
receive it.
person that I used to be was someone that did not want to have her picture taken because I was afraid of the camera. I was afraid of the mirror. I was afraid of the scale. And part of my work that is so hard is I barely have any pictures when I was larger because I didn't want my picture taken. I always wanted to hide behind somebody. Right. I
Mm.
never wanted my picture taken. I always wanted the side view. I always wanted the picture from the neck up. Right. And so it's hard. But when I finally lost weight in 2019 and got to the same size that I am now, I scheduled a photo shoot. I scheduled a photo shoot with a professional photographer. I had a professional makeup artist. I went down to the wharf in DC, and I had 10 changes of clothes. I I I had 10 changes of clothes, and the photographer was like, "We ain't doing all 10. We'll do 5, but I ain't gonna do 10. You ain't paid me enough money to do 10."
Oh my God. You bought the whole closet. You was like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
I'm gonna do this. I went down, and I am telling you, Tonya, to this day, that photo shoot is still one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
One of the best days of my life. The camera, full shots, head to toe, showing up for myself. And I want that for every woman, for every man who has ever said, just take my picture from the neck up. Here, let me stand behind you. Let me turn to the side. Oh, I don't want, oh no, that's all right. I don't want to be in the picture. How much are we missing in my life? How much have we missed? I
A
worked
lot.
in a
And
lot.
what's amazing is that you become good at it. Like you become good at hiding,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's scary. You become good at hiding.
You become good at hiding. Right.
In essence, you're not living.
Yep, you're
You're
not.
hiding.
It-
Yeah,
You're
I
you're
received that.
you're hiding from your life. And so this course, this transformation, it is so people can get to a body that they love and that they're comfortable with, but it is so that we can learn in an authentic way. And the way that we learn how to show up in an authentic way is to learn how to process our emotions correctly and embrace them. And so this is what that is all about. And of course we do have conversations, and I am available for some private conversations and some private calls with people if they want to talk about some specific food or some specific issue or anything like that. I do go through some information around you know what food really is, right? What are the healthiest food and what foods aren't so healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that we've been tricked about, right? We do have lessons around that. But here's the thing: once you get your mind right, as my grandfather used to say, get your mind right. Once you get your mind right, then you will start to seek out the information that supports you in making the shift to eating in a healthier manner.
So, as you continue to like spread this message of hope and healing and transformation, what is the ultimate goal? Like, how do you envision this work evolving in the future? Do you plan on having big conferences, uh, getaways, trips, where everybody has a success? What, like, if today, if you could write the story of how you want this to evolve, what would that be?
Oh man, so ooh, here's what I really would like to happen in my heart of hearts. I hear so many people, Tonya, talk about having weight loss surgery
Mm-hmm.
and gaining the weight back.
Mm-hmm.
And I had surgery too. I didn't have the bariatric surgery or the sleeve or gastric bypass or anything like that, but I had way too many rounds of liposuction. Right. And I used it thinking if I can just have this surgery, I can maintain the weight and not gain the weight back. But I did have the liposuction and I did start gaining the weight back, and it frightened me. And I knew that there was a missing link. So if I had this magic wand and I could just roll this out in my mind's eye, I would
Mm-hmm.
I would like to work with doctors. I would like to work with therapists. I would like to work with nutritionists. I would like to work with those folk that have had the surgery or tried other means, but they still haven't been able to do the mental work to make the mental shift to think about food differently, because that is the secret. That is the key when you learn how to think about food differently. And I'm not saying don't have the surgery, right? I'm not, but I am saying in order for any of these external things to work, you have got to do the mental work. You've got to know how to do that in a meaningful way, in a
Mm-hmm.
meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind's eye, if I'm working with doctors, if I'm working with these bariatric programs, if I'm working with these hospitals, if I'm working with nutritionists, if I'm working with all these people that are talking about here are the behavior changes that you need to do, if I'm working um um what do you call coaches with physical coaches with you know gym coaches with um
Um, um, what did you say earlier about mine is a terrible thing to waste? And I can see it right in my mind what it is.
yeah, physical,
But
those
yeah,
physical trainers,
physical.
physical trainers. So if I'm working with trainers, if I'm working with nutritionists, if I'm working with doctors, if I'm working with all these people that have an emphasis on behavior, if all these people that are working in that space, if they were just able to connect their clients to me, connect me to their clients, to incorporate this mindset work into this behavior work, it would make their behavior work easier. The bear, the bear, the people wouldn't regain the weight. It wouldn't be hard for people to work out. When nutritionists gave people their plans, they would stick to them because they're doing the mental work. But it's just to say, okay, come to the gym and work out 3 times a week. Yeah, well, yeah, sure, I know that, but I need to be in the mental space to do that. While I'm in the gym working out, what am I thinking about? Am I thinking about how hard this is? Am I thinking about the fact that I don't want to do this? Or
Mm-hmm.
do I know how to take my mind to someplace else? Do I know how to visualize and meditate on my ultimate health and my ultimate body and how I will feel? Do I know how to take myself to a place of joy while I'm in the gym? Because if I don't know how to do that, it's going to be very hard for me to go to the gym every day.
Absolutely.
So if I don't
Absolutely.
know, right. So if I don't if I'm just looking at the diet plan and saying all I can eat is a boiled egg, all I can eat is a boiled egg and some tomatoes, all I'm going to do is be mad, right? But if I understand what I'm eating and why I'm not eating certain things and what and how certain things don't serve my body, and the joy and the happiness that I'll feel on the other side of this meal, if I'm focused on that, if I know how to focus my mind on the result and on the outcome that's on the other side of the plate rather than the plate itself, then I can follow the plan, right?
So,
If I understand, if I know that.
because really, just as much as food can do so many horrible things to you, food can also be the medicine in your life if we understand it,
So
right?
so so let thank you so much for being that. There's a distinction. Food. Food is nourishment and nutrition, right? Food is, and I have this whole thing around the ABCs of food, this whole thing that I wrote about the ABCs of food. But food is nourishment, nutrition, and energy. It is fresh fruits and vegetables. It is fresh fruits and vegetables and high quality protein. It will heal you. Food that is good for you will never hurt you. I'm going to repeat that. Food that is good for you will never hurt you. So think about it. There are plenty of people that are lactose intolerant, right? They're lactose intolerant, but then they try to take a pill so that they won't be intolerant, so that they can tolerate it. The message is, if you are lactose intolerant, that is your body saying, I don't like this.
Want it.
I don't want this. This does not agree with me. This is your body rejecting it. But for us to override it, to try to take something, for us to be able to ingest something that our body has said to us, I don't like. I ain't feeling that. Yeah, there's something wrong with that picture. So, good food. Food. We need food. We need Tonya. We need to be hungry. Hunger is data. Hunger tells us it is time for us to nourish our bodies, right? But the problem is people respond to hunger in a way that is not nutritious. They respond to hunger in a way that doesn't serve their bodies. That's what the problem is. So it is the processed food, it is the snack food, it is the junk food, it is all the stuff that is filled with sugar, that is filled with additives, that is filled with flour, that is filled with corn, that is filled with some stuff that we can't even pronounce. That is the stuff that we do not need, that our bodies cannot process, that harms us. That is the stuff that is not even food, because there's nothing nutritious about it. There's nothing nourishing about it. So the barometer becomes, is this nutritious? Is it nourishing? If it's nutritious and nourishing, then it's food.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not nutritious and nourishing, then it is not food. If it has stuff in it that I can't identify, if it has stuff in it that my body cannot process, if it has stuff in me, if it has stuff in it that will ultimately send my health into a state of decline, then it's not food. It's like sugar is not food. Sugar is just a highly addictive substance. Look it up in the dictionary. It is not food, but it is in everything. It is a highly addictive substance that leads to disease, that leads to disease and breaks down our bodies. But it is in everything. And we pay extra money for it
Because we've been trained to.
because this is good. Why don't you get some of this? Right. But but
Exactly.
but but we can, but here's the thing, but we can untrain ourselves.
Hmm.
We can untrain ourselves to eat that and eat only that honors and serves our bodies, that heals our bodies, that uplifts our bodies, that leads us to a state of good health rather than sends us into a state of decline.
Absolutely.
So that's the distinction. Yes, we have we have to eat food to live. We don't have to eat junk food to live. And as a matter of fact, junk food will kill us.
It is killing us.
It is killing us, right? It is. That's the distinction that most people don't know how to make. And that's what my TED talk is about. My TED talk is about that confusion. Is at least that's one of the things that people are confused about. And if
I'm
you
going to
watch
post that
my TED
in
talk,
this.
I break that down.
I'm definitely going to post that TED Talk. I think it's amazing. It's absolutely
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
You know,
Thank you so much.
I want to do a quick recap, and then I have two more quick things I'm going to ask you about.
Okay.
So these are the five things that I'm hearing you say that I think is imperative that we all understand. We must overcome our food addictions, right? Overcoming our food addiction is really about our relationship with food. Uh, and I'm going to ask you a question about this. Our childhood experiences shape our beliefs about food. And our parents can only teach us what they knew, and their parents only taught them what they knew. And as time evolves, things change. So we must change.
Mm-hmm.
Redefining the purpose of food. Food is not to soothe your emotions, it's for nourishment, nutrition, and energy. Is that conscious eating? It's imperative to be eat consciously, not unconsciously.
Yes.
To ask yourself the three questions: why am I hungry? I don't know all three of them, but I know it's three of them. The biggest one is, am I hungry, or why am I eating this? Correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And healing through writing.
Mm-hmm.
That we must heal through writing, because when we do that, we connect it to our brains. We connect
Mm-hmm.
it physically.
Mm-hmm.
So, am I on point a little bit? I just want to make sure I'm covering.
You are right. You are right on point. You are
Okay.
right on point. Yes.
So the question I wanted to ask, because we didn't really get to talk about it, is what would you tell parents today about the food industry and how processed foods, which is why I think the younger kids are so.
Yep.
When we were coming up, we weren't never as obese as
Yep.
these younger kids are now,
Yep.
and it's because they're just eating processed food. So,
Yep.
what advice would you get a parent now raising children in this society?
Yeah. I would tell parents you have got to be vigilant. You have got to take the time because your children, the life of your children is at stake. It it we live in a toxic food environment, and you have got to protect your children. You you have got to protect your children like their lives depend on it, because their lives do
Do
depend on
depend
it.
on it. Mm-hmm.
Their lives do depend on it. And I it's like no matter what. And I do think it's a matter of bringing your children into the process and educating them, because there's going to be some pushback. Well, everybody else is eating it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to feel like a villain, and you're like, oh, I don't want my child to be deprived. But you've got to switch and think about how you're looking at food. So it's either if you want to call it, deprive them in this moment, right, of the taste of the pizza, or deal with the fact that sometime down the line they're going to be dealing with some diabetes or some other issue, right? It's made it. I mean, it is like, you know, parents decide, right? Like, so do you say, oh, my child is crying because they don't want to go to school, so I'm not gonna make them go to school. I'm gonna let them stay home. What parent does that? No parent does that, because they know the end game. I don't care if you are crying. You got to put your shoes on and get dressed. Once you get there, you're like it. You'll be okay. Right? Come on, let's go. I'll go sit in the class with you for a little while, right? To make it work, because you understand how important education is. The same thing with food. Oh, I want some potato chips. I want the Coca-Cola. Can I have the Kool-Aid? No, because you understand how that ultimately will deprive them of their good health. Okay, so no, you can't have the potato chips. But here, how about this? We're gonna go and we're gonna buy some potatoes, and then we're gonna go home and we're gonna do a little game. We're gonna slice them up. I'm gonna slice them up because you're too little to work with a knife, because you might cut your hand off. I'm not gonna let you do that, but I'm gonna slice them up, and then you can sprinkle the herbs on them, and then we're gonna make some potato chips at home, and they're better than anything that can ever be in the store. You want to do that? Yeah, mommy, let's do that. You know. So now we have taken this. Now this has become a family activity. You get the little kids to count all the little potato slices. You can turn it into a math activity. Now they got a little nutrition activity, and now they're invested in eating the little potatoes that you made, because they help make it. So you can pull out Google and research all the different kinds of potatoes. You can pull out a coloring book, let them color some potatoes. But what you're not doing is letting them eat some potato chips. It's that
I receive it.
that that that's the advice. We are in a teaching moment. We are in this is a I don't have kids, right? I don't have kids. But this is a teaching opportunity for parents around food, for them to teach their children that food is not entertainment, that it is not an activity. What it is it I would tell parents to let their child go hungry. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds like, oh no, I'm not. I don't ever want my child to go hungry, right? But they need to understand and know what hunger feels like, so they can identify it for themselves. It is a learn. It doesn't mean that you're gonna make them go hungry for 3 weeks. But they need to know. They need to be able to identify the feeling. They need to know the difference between eating because they're actually hungry, because there's a feeling that has come upon them slowly, or eating because the food is free or everybody else is eating. They need to understand. They need to understand and know that. And parents need to understand that just because the child says, "Mama, I'm hungry," that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. Right? It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent because your child says, "I'm hungry," and you say, "Okay, wait, dinner will be ready in a little while. Dinner will be ready in a couple of hours. Go on out and play. Go do your homework. Come back." You know what happened? The child will go do their homework and come back. All right? Or here, eat this carrot. Right? Eat, drink some water. Give give them some tools to help them navigate and learn what to do. Yeah, drink a couple glasses of water. Dinner be ready in a little while, right?
Well, let me play devil's advocate, because so much of what we learn is not by what we say from our parents; it's what we watch them do.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we get all the parents? Because there's so many. Most parents today take their kids to every fast food restaurant quick for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we get people really on board? Like, what kind of movement would you create?
So I would call it the food story movement. I would call it the food story movement. And Tanya, here's the thing: is that I'm not saying that this is a big job, and you
Yes,
don't
it
do it.
is.
You don't do it immediately, but you do it one step at a time. You do it one meal at a time. You do it one thing at a time. So here's what I would say. How about smoothies for breakfast? Get some kale, get some spinach, get some almond milk, right? Get some fruit, get some frozen fruit. Put that in the blender. Put that in the blender with some with some beans, with some cooked beans, some good cooked chickpeas to get some protein, and get smoothies. That that is a what I have just said is a quick, nutritious breakfast. Get some kale, get some spinach, right? Get some fruit, some bananas, and a can of cooked chickpeas. Put those in a blender with some vanilla, some nutmeg, and some cinnamon. If you got some cocoa powder, put that in the blender. That won't even take 10 minutes. Now all your little kids, guess what they got? They having a shake for breakfast, right? They're having a shake for breakfast that
Yep.
is filled with nutrition, nutritious ingredients. And if they want something a little sweeter, just put a little dab of honey in it. And put a little dab of honey in it, but start cutting back on the honey, right? Make it a little sweet. Make it next week, make it a little less sweet. The next week, make it a little less sweet. And get them used to it not being sweet. Make it sweet so that they'll drink it in the first place. You you can that is a quick, cheap, nutritious, fast breakfast that you can give to your kids every day. It will hold them over. Just do breakfast. Just do that. Just do that.
And make yourself one while you're in it.
And make yourself one while you're at it. Exactly. Just breakfast. Just breakfast.
I receive it. I receive it.
Yeah. And guess what? When you come home, do the same thing. Make another smoothie in the evening. Change up the greens, change up the beans, change up the fruit, and serve a little one, right? Because they come, I'm hungry. Okay, make a quick smoothie. Everybody have a little short smoothie to to tide you over until dinner, right? Then you have a healthy dinner. But now they've gotten all the vegetables in. They've gotten all the vegetables in
That's
those
true.
in those two meals.
Eh, So, do you agree we should be eating 60% vegetables every day?
Do I believe what?
Do you agree that we should be eating 60% vegetables every day?
I think it needs to be higher than that.
Okay.
I I
100%?
I I believe it. I believe it needs to be higher than that. Um, yes, I do.
Okay.
The more vegetables, the better. And I'm not talking about vegetables that have been fried. Yeah, fried. I'm from the South. I'm not talking about fried
Fried
okra,
okra.
fried okra, fried zucchini, fried tomatoes, fried mushrooms. That's not what I'm talking
Yes. Yes. We find a way to make it good, right? In our
Right.
minds.
But what I am saying is over time. I mean, as you see the fresh green, red, yellow, orange, lush vegetables on a plate, right? And you eat them in their whole form. They land differently, but it takes time. It takes time to get used to the taste of that and to understand that carrots are very sweet. If you had told me 10 years ago that carrots was, I'm like, what are you talking about carrots are sweet? You put some carrots on the grill, you put some eggplant on the grill, you put any vegetable on the grill with a little just a little balsamic vinaigrette or something. Oh my God, that is delicious. Eat it all day long. I
Yeah.
eat it cold right out of the refrigerator. Just some slice of onions, peppers, all that. And it's beautiful. It's got a little bit of char on it. Yeah, it doesn't get any better.
I receive it. I'm with you 100%. I two things I didn't ask you about when and I said one of these things I said I was going to ask you about when we were speaking before. What's cake in the mail?
uh, So the the cake is in the mail is one of the short stories in my book, Leaving Large: The Stories of a Food Addict. And I will tell you, Tanya, when I started this journey, I didn't know that I was a writer, right? And I didn't have a lot of confidence about my writing skills. And the reason I didn't have any confidence about my writing skills, that's a whole nother show. But
Okay.
anyway, I want to give credit to an editor. So I submitted a couple of stories that I had written to an editor, and he said, "Oh, Michelle, these are very good." Um, but I didn't know. I didn't know if they were good. And he said, "I think we should submit these stories to a contest." And I'm like, okay. Right. So I submitted that story. The cake is in the mail um, um, to a creator platform called Vocal Media. And so it's
Mhm.
still up there. It's still up there on the platform.
Okay.
Um, and it actually won first place.
Nice.
And when that story, and I got a nice little check with it too, right? Anyway, so when that story being published was like the signal for me that you have something here. You have something that is good. You have something that is meaningful, and move forward. It was a real boost to my confidence. But is about the story is about my relationship with my mother, and how she actually handed me over to my grandparents for my grandparents to raise. And what she would do every Christmas would be to send a box of her baked goods. And we would all be so excited when her pound cakes and cranberry bread and everything that would show up for Christmas time. And those boxes would show up, and I would eat them all. I would eat all of it. And as I was writing that story, it wasn't, growing up, I just got these messages that, oh, you are so greedy. Why you ate all the cake. You ate a whole cake. What is wrong with you, right? Right. And what I realized in writing this story was that those cakes, when my mother sent those cakes, that was her expression of love, to send those cakes for Christmas. And since I was separated from her and I wanted to be with her, I my eating them was me trying to take her all in, right? That's what. And but I didn't have words for that. I didn't have words for the pain that I felt from being separated from her. I didn't have any of that, as a kid. And the only thing I had was to try to be wrapped up in her from those cakes, because when the cakes come, they were her. I could smell her. I mean, I could feel her all in that. And I wanted that, but I didn't have it. And the those cakes were the only way that I could access that.
I received that, Michelle. That's like that's in alignment with the story of the lady earlier and her husband, right? It's
Yes.
we all have it somehow, some way, right? And that
Yes.
you bring it to the forefront is amazing, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
most people would never think of, like you said, you definitely at that young age, you couldn't align with, why am I
Mm,
so,
mm-mm.
I'm waiting for this cake in the mail, and when I get it, I'm gonna eat it all, right? But you're
Right.
not thinking, I'm doing that because I really want to be connected to my
Right.
mother.
Right.
That
Right.
never probably crossed
Mm-mm.
your mind.
Mm-mm. And here's the thing, Tanya, none of us think it.
Right.
As we are drawn to eat certain foods in certain ways, none of us really consciously think about what that draw is. That's why those questions are so important. The
Hmm.
questions give us pause. They give us an opportunity to think, about what's really going on. And when you think about what's really going on, then you can rewrite it. You can shift, you can pivot, you can do something else. And you can ultimately understand that you don't need the food in order to capture the feeling. You can capture the feeling without the food. That's what the writing allows you to do. It allows you to go there and get into that feeling without actually eating this thing that is not good for you.
So I need you to say that again
Okay.
about capturing. Say that for me again.
Yeah. What what we need to understand is that we can get the feeling that we want without actually eating the food. Because here's the thing, we when we get into this processed snack food, junk food thing, I want you to think about what you see what you see when you're watching the advertising for these foods. You're watching people, they're in social situations, they're having a good time, they're out with their friends. It is, I mean, the food is there, but all of the story they're telling in the advertising is about the connection and the good time that you're having with your friends around the food. And most of the people that I coach, their biggest issue is being able to resist certain foods when they're around their friends and their family, because because of the association. They don't know how to separate the food from the feeling. And your power happens when you understand that the food and the feeling are connected, and then when you learn how to separate it. When you learn that you can get the feeling without actually eating the food, that you can close your mind, that you can get the feeling, that you can just imagine it. You don't have to eat it to get the connection. That's where your freedom is.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat it. But because here's the other thing is that it will what you're eating will probably never be as good as the first time you remember it. Is
Ah.
your first memory of it. It'll never be as good.
Now, and this might not be a good analogy, but isn't that just like the person who's addicted to Coke,
It's the same thing. It, it,
right?
it's
Or
it is
crack or whatever
it,
that
yep,
drug is,
yep,
and they're
yep,
always chasing that feeling again.
yep. You're always and it is never good. It's like for a thing when I did my TED talk, I talked about my grandmother's peach cobbler, right? To the to this day, I don't know that anybody ever makes a peach cobbler better than my grandmother. Although I'll never know because I'm never eating it again.
Right.
But 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 many times, I'm making decisions about back in the day. Oh, let's go to that restaurant because I know they have good peach cobbler, right? But it was never as good as my grandmother's. It was okay enough, right? But if it was someplace new, the question was, I wonder how good it is. I wonder if it's good as my grandmother's, and it was never ever going to be as good as hers because first of all, it just wasn't going to be as good as hers. But second of all, it wasn't hers.
Right.
It's hers.
Right.
It's not coming from her. It's not wrapped up in the same stuff. And so and let me tell you something. I've had a bunch of nasty peach cobblers trying to
Trying to find grandmas, right? Oh my God. Yeah. So the addiction is the
so
addiction, no matter what it is.
so not worth the calories.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's so many things not worth the calories. You right?
So not
Just
worth
so
it.
many things. Oh
So
my God. You
so
know.
not worth it. But the truth is that we can get we don't because we're not really after the food. What we're really after is the feeling. We're after what the food represents. We're after what it represents, and when we can identify that. Yeah, I'll give you another example, Tonya.
Okay.
And and as we're and as we talk about this, you're gonna find I think you're gonna find yourself kind of being able to assess certain situations yourself. I remember going out to dinner with a guy, and we finished up with a meal, and he had a little bit of food still left on his plate. And the server came and said, "Sir, can I take your plate?" And he looked down at his plate and he said, he kind of picked around. He said, "Oh yeah, I ate all the meat. Yes, you can take it. I ate all the meat. Yes, you can take it." And in that statement, there are a couple of things that I knew. First of all, I knew he wasn't vegetarian, right?
Right.
But but he placed a high value on meat, as many of us do. That the
Mhm.
eating of the meat, represents some status, right? And so there's likely some time in his past, either he or his family or his parents didn't have meat to eat, and it was equated with a lack, not having meat. And so being able to go out to a steakhouse or have a filet mignon or have a porterhouse or a T-bone or all of that doesn't have anything to do with nutrition and nourishment. That has everything to do with status. That has everything to do with overcoming those memories, right? Those memories of what it felt like when we didn't have meat, where we had to eat beans because um, beans were seen as not having the money to afford more or to afford better. Whereas if you look at beans now, beans are so nutritious. They're nutritious and affordable, and you get way more bang for your buck,
Buck.
more bang for your buck with beans, right? In terms of health and money, than with meat. But because there's this notion of, oh, all y'all you don't have any meat in there, right? Because of the story of what we tell ourselves about what it means. We got to change.
It's so
We have to change that story.
it's just so many ways that you can go with this food thing. And that I really, really do hope that you get to hook up with therapists and doctors because that alignment is really, really there. I mean, it's oh my God. It's I mean, even the things that you can read about a person and how they eat.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing, right? Think about it.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, you can tell. Go when you next time you go to the grocery store. Look, you can look in people's grocery carts. You can really see it with men, right? And you can tell if they're single by what they have in their cart, right?
Is that how you scout them out?
No, no, I just look. No, I just look. This is just what I do. I just watch
Just
people's
messing with
cards.
you, Michelle.
Because you look at their cards, and they have in their shopping baskets, they have the same stuff that they ate when they were 17. Right? Right? They have some little Debbie cakes. They have some little Debbie cakes. They have some bologna cheese, a loaf of white bread, some orange juice. Right.
Yeah, times are tough.
And some little Debbies. Right. Right.
Right, not the little Debbie's. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they were eating when they were 17. Same,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, see.
Never mind, you 62 right now. But
And not to mind that your body can't digest it the same way they did at
right,
17.
right. And you got a box of Fruit Loops, and some
Oh,
whole
not the Fruit
milk.
Loop.
Right?
Not the
That's
Fruit
that's what's in there. You got Fruit Loops, you got some Fruit Loops, some whole.
Loop. I love it. I love it. So I have one last question. When we last spoke, you vaguely mentioned about the apology project. What's that about?
The Apology Project.
Hmm.
Oh, so what that is part of the my writing, of the writing group, of the healing through reading,
Okay,
writing, and storytelling. That's one of the writing prompts.
got
The
it.
the Apology Project. And so here's the thing. So much of what we do, so much of our behavior, so much of our beliefs are formed by by our relationships with loving people in our life. It could be our
Mm,
parents, it could be our grandparents, it could be teachers or anything. And we take, as kids, we take what they tell us as gospel, right? right? So I mean, it's like, look at this. You see my hand? You see my wrist right here?
Uh-huh.
Like look at, so look, you can see my
Right.
thumb is like, right. So I have a little wrist. I have a little wrist. Um, so one of the stories in my book is called Big Boned and Blue. Right. So
Big
I'm
bones
gonna
and what?
blue. Big
Okay.
boned, big boned and blue. And so I'm gonna get to the apology project in just a second.
No, no
So
worries.
I remember when I was in the sixth grade, and we used to do, weigh-ins. We used to do weigh-ins when I was in the sixth grade. And I remember in the sixth grade, I was the biggest kid in my class, even bigger than all the boys. And the teacher would weigh you, call out your weight, and then write it in her little ledger or whatnot. And I ran home horrified, horrified that I was the biggest one in class. And so I went to my grandmother because my grandmother was all things sage and saved, all things sage and saved. So I ran home to her with this, and she said, "Oh, baby, you're not fat. You just got big bones." This is what
I love it. I love it.
I said, "You ain't fat. You just got
Yeah,
big bones."
right.
So, and
And
she
that
said,
comes from her generation, right?
that comes from her generation. But so she said that. But that year between the sixth grade and the seventh grade, I went on a serious diet. I mean, I was like, bam, right, grandma, I love you, but no,
I ain't trying to be big bone, right?
no, I ain't going for it. But here's the thing: even though I did that, I still carried from
Mm.
that 12-year-old conversation that I have big bones. I remember having a conversation with a woman that I work with. I was probably in my 30s. And I said something, well, I just have big bones. And she looked at me like I had 5 heads. She's like, "You don't have big bones?" I'm like, "Well, yes, I do." And she said, "Michelle, you don't have big bones." I'm like, "Well, yes, I do." And she did the same thing. She got my wrist. She said, "Look, my hand goes around your wrist. You do not have big bones." Now, at the time, the way that I carried my weight all over my body, but my the lower part of my arm was still slim. But I looked at her, and what she was saying was irrefutable. I didn't have big bones. But here's the thing, Tonya, I had the same size wrists when I was 12. So for a 12-year-old, it's big bones, right?
Right, right.
And they're big for a 12. I developed early and stayed there. But my mind didn't change. My consciousness, what I thought about myself didn't change, because it was, and Sherry had to, like, her name was Sherry, had to fight me because my, I don't know you, I work with you. You're just saying it was my grandmother who told me I had big bones. you
Right.
know, because
My
in
grandmother said this.
my grandmother, she knows everything. Right? So
Right. And mad. Who she
right.
thinks she is? I'm
So
with you.
right. So but my point about the apology is that, you know, people that love us,
Mhm.
whether our grandparents, our parents, or people in our life, when they tell us stuff, when they do things from us, it they're giving us the best that they know how to do. They're loving us with the best information that they have. And as we move away and move through the world and move through our life and get new information, we have to change. We have to edit it. And so the apology is this: I know in my heart of hearts that if my grandmother, my grandparents, my mother, if they knew of all the ill effects of processed food, of refined flour, of refined sugar, of all this stuff, they would have never fed it to me. They would have never done any of that if they knew. And so the apology is this. And if we're holding on to doing certain things because somebody we love fed it to us or told us it was true, and we're holding on to it because of that, then what we need is for them to release us from it. And so the letter of apology is from that person. So we have to write the letter for them saying, baby, when I gave you the Kool-Aid, I didn't know. I didn't know about the additives. I didn't know about the preservatives. I didn't know about the color. I didn't know about the sugar. I didn't know it would give you diabetes. I didn't know any of those things. If I'm so sorry, I was doing the best I knew how. I didn't know that stuff wasn't nutritious. I was just watching the TV, right? I was just watching the advertising. The advertising said it was okay, so I thought it was okay. But what I want for you is good health. What I want for you is empowerment. What I want is for you to live long and healthy. And if I had known cooking the food that way, if frying up all the stuff like that was going to do this to you, I would have never done it. If I had known, that's the apology. So we have to write the apology from the person that was the source, right, of our behavior around certain things that aren't serving us, if we want to be released from it. So we have to identify those things and think about where they came from, and let that and give that person an opportunity to say, I'm sorry.
I receive it. I receive it. Well, as always, it's been very enlightening. I'm going to work on my food habits. I am. And so, as much as I because I'm lactose intolerant, I practice most parts. I try to practice being vegan, but sometimes I need a little bit of salmon or some kind of mahi mahi because I'm feeling like I need some protein, like maybe I'm not getting enough protein. So I really do think I just need to get better at figuring out what will work for me on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I find myself, I love sunflower seeds, so I eat those all the time. I get them from Wegmans and I take those little, that's my thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that you are truly on a path to heal the world through food. And I think that if you continue down this path, that it's going to be international, and that everyone who comes into your path will understand the simple thought of what are the stories in my life that I need to change so that I can be the best version of myself and live and eat healthy and be healthy,
Yes.
because health
Yes.
is my wealth. So
Yes.
I'm grateful for your opportunity to talk to you. I'm grateful that you've taken the time to come back and share with me all of your thoughts. And I look forward to doing it again.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Let's do it again anytime. And thank you, Tonya, for holding space for this conversation, right? For holding
Absolutely.
space for the conversation, seeing the value of it, right? And just opening up your platform. I'm so incredibly grateful for this.
Thank you again. Thanks everybody who took the time to listen or who will listen in the future. We are grateful, very grateful. And I say to you, what's your food story? Have an amazing day.